But more important, why have the leaders of our nation refused repeatedly to answer all of these questions with all the available data?
Thermate. That's what makes it. Thermite adds sulfur. It's now thermate. Sulfur, and this is, will now cut through that steel cup very quickly in a fraction of a second. I had a female student who was trying to time that. She said, there's no way. And it's cut through. Okay, aluminum. You guys are right on, right? Aluminum, sulfur, manganese, and iron. Those are the main compounds. Now here it comes. Ta-da! This is the dust particle from the World Trade Center from Jeanette McKinley's sample. And we see, I showed this to, nothing up my sleeve. Nothing, magician, nothing up my sleeve, Willie. There is nothing. No, this is science. Anyway, I showed this to Doug Rocky last night. He got teary-eyed looking at this. I'll let you describe some implications, Doug, if you would. But anyway, look, iron, this is the sulfur peak, folks. It's off scale, or nearly, because they scale it, but it goes almost up. Aluminum, we see copper as well. So we can tell you what they put in the thermate. These data, hot off the press, last Wednesday, okay? Iron oxide, aluminum powder, copper oxide, and if you look, here's another plot, another spot shows potassium permanganate. I can tell you what they put in there. Now let's let Doug comment, if you would, Doug.
When we saw the data, now I knew about this already, but when I saw the data last night, it was very readily obvious. Willie, where are you at?
Right here.
Come here. Okay, Willie, you and my friends in the emergency services unit, as you were in the floors, what did you hear, sir?
I heard explosions, and I had this horrible smell that got stuck on my throat.
What was the smell?
I want to repeat. What did you smell?
It was like ammonium and sulfur that stuck on my throat, and I did made a comment on television 5 days after because they asked me. That was September 15 or 16 on television, national television in Spanish, and I'm talking about this acrid smoke. I'm talking about this acrid smoke. Television, national television in Spanish, and I'm talking about this acrid smoke.
Where's David? David, in 911 in plain sight, you specifically talked to and have on camera members of the New York Police and Fire Department, and what specifically did they state?
Okay, I don't want to misspeak. Some of the footage that is in plain sight came from television networks, and as far as the firefighters are concerned, there were lots of folks that said that they felt that they were choking. Although I don't have the description like Willie has, you know, an acrid smell, sulfur, etc., but the overwhelming majority of the people that we review the videotape, some of it went into the project, some of it didn't, basically saying the same thing. They were choking and couldn't, you know, they get into the lungs and then they can't breathe.
There is a video out there where they have the police and the fire, and the guys are saying it was explosions going off 4x4, bang, 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 bang. The implications are incredible. We have a building in free fall. We have a building with a massive steel structure, both externally and internally. If you look at an automobile today, you will know, and it's bragged about, that automobiles are designed and built such that they have a crush zone, which means that you have deformation due to conservation of momentum that absorbs the energy through conservation of energy to allow the energy to be absorbed before it gets to the passenger compartment. Most specifically, we see this in NASCAR. In order for this building to fall like this, you would think, in a common sense thing, as the building started to fall, unless I'm missing something in all my years of physics, you would have stuff bent all over the place. You would not have the stuff just coming down in a rubble pile. which suggests, based on Willie's direct observations and hearing the direct observations of police and fire, the radio transmissions are radio transmissions with the explosions going off. Is that correct, Willie? That is, did everybody hear? That is correct. The implications are overwhelming. Specialized explosives were placed within the World Trade Center to allow this building to come down. It's not box cutters.
I want to ask a question. I remember I was a janitor. I'm a layman. I don't understand this, but I want to ask Professor Jones and Dr. Dartworthy.
By the way, we are both professors.
My question is, does this data validate my story about the explosions that I experienced in the building?
Yeah, look, William, certainly these data validate that there were pre-planted explosives, and we can identify the components now, at least to some. By the way, super thermite is a explosive form of thermite. You also saw the thermite jet. But anyway, so yes, and of course the sulfur is just characteristic. Another lab, WPI, discusses, didn't explain, but they said, look, we observe high temperature corrosion and sulfidation. They asked the question, where did the sulfur come from? Now we have an answer. And then, of course, the seismic data confirms that there was a shock before the plane hit the tower. All of these corroborate your testimony. And I still want to see you get that Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah.
In my research for the Department of the Army, the Department of Defense, I have used thermite explosives. They are very specialized explosives that can be attached to structures and set off by remote control. That is specifically what I did do. Well, I didn't do it. I had the experts of the experts do it, and they will remain anonymous. So the question, ladies and gentlemen, that you're left with, based on the evidence, based on the observations, based on the knowledge, based on the data, what do you think happened? But more important, why have the leaders of our nation refused repeatedly to answer all of these questions with all the available data?
So I would like to mention one last thing. People keep asking me, what can they do? And there's some good ideas out there. No shopping for a whole week, hit them economically. April 15th, go to We Are Not Buying It, Peter Phillips. We Are Not Buying It. Peer-reviewed articles, so talks about cold fusion, I work there. 9/11 Truth and Justice Squads. These go way back. I have a video clip. I'd love to show it, but if you Google on John Gross, an inspector, a person on the NIST committee, being asked a question by these young college students about the molten metal, and his answer is fascinating. Google on that if you would. Return to the United States Constitution, one of my big hopes. Repeal the Bush Doctrine, which is war of aggression.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Legal challenges, certainly. FEMA changing, impeachments on the table.
Yes.
Now here I get to the last. Building local infrastructure, shopping at local stores rather than buying at globalized stores. I think this is quite important. A voluntary simplicity in our lives so that we're not under the thumb of these guys. And this is the last thing. I think it's important while we are working for positive change that we prepare for difficulties which will probably lie ahead. To get people to wake up historically takes a famine or at least some kind of recession. I anticipate that, and therefore I'm storing food. You're welcome to share, but I don't have all that much. And water, warm clothing, solar energy. The solar cooker that I invented and developed is in the upper right-hand corner. You go to profjones.com, you can learn more about the solar cooker, assuming my webmaster student has put it up there already. I hope so, with the links. And that's, if we keep working on these values, folks, fitness, victory gardens, we can get independent of the system and we can succeed together.
But more important, why have the leaders of our nation refused repeatedly to answer all of these questions with all the available data?